It's the spookiest time of year, and what's more spooky than a skeleton?
That's right, we're going to use this skull to make a spooky-themed project. It's tabletop time.
Woo! And Jazza is working on this amazing Golden Throne statue, which you can see behind me, and we wanted to make something that could fit into that for Halloween, so we're going to make a Servo skull. It is Halloween on Thursday, which means that's the release date for the video, so we have today to make this skull. So we're going to blitz it as a team. We have the little basis, a little dollar store Halloween skull.
How do we make a Servo skull?
All right, so for my part, I think I'm gonna tackle the cabling, the stand that it sits on. So that's a whole bunch of cables and wires, because usually they fly and float. So I will 3D sculpt a bunch of cables and wires that will be a sturdy 3D print. I'll tackle that. What's the skull gonna look like?
We definitely want like one of the eyes to be like a glowing robot optic, right? Like that's pretty standard. Can do that.
Okay, what else do we gotta do? I want to knock out all of these teeth and replace them with far more realistic teeth, which will just make the skull look real with a little bit of some wet look to it. So I know Amy at the studio has a box full of teeth, so I think we're gonna see if we can borrow some of them, Dremel these out and replace them with real teeth.
We don't represent Amy's legalities when it comes to where she sourced the teeth from. We just know she has them. She gave them to us. That's all we know. We are not responsible.
Don't mess with Amy.
There's a couple of images I've seen where they've got like an iron halo on the top, which I think looks really, really cool.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking that what looks really good on Servo skulls is the more they become like based on a skull and less just a skull. We could like put a whole bunch of electronics crammed into the back of the head that kind of hang out. Maybe Purity Seal?
Like a lot of them have like the script just sort of like hanging underneath their jaw.
Okay, I think that's gonna be an awesome Servo skull. Let's get to work.
Let's go.
So what is a Warhammer 40k servo skull? I kind of know what it is, but our resident 40k nerd would be able to tell you a lot better on what it is. And he's written down exactly what I need to say. So let me interpret this into the best Dave personality that I possibly can. Let's do it. Seen floating around nobility through hive spires and at the side of inquisitors, servo skulls are an iconic symbol of Warhammer 40k. These skulls are literally the skulls of the most pious and loyal servants of the Imperium. Through lives lived in exemplary service of the God Emperor, are honored in death to have their remains turned into somewhat rare and unquestioningly high-tech servo skulls. They perform numerous duties, from scribing down the thoughts of rogue traders exploring the galaxy to be outfitted with advanced scanners and sensors to aid them on the battlefield. None can question that the iconic servo skull is a beloved symbol of the Imperium, the Emperor, and mankind's glory to the 41st millennium. Also, they're very spooky and Halloweeny. So that's all you need to know about servo skulls. I hope you learned a little bit from today's lesson. So let's go back to finishing our real life one. Let's do it.
Now Dave has just handed me this new skull along with a lamp, an LED lamp, which has this big sort of domed magnifying glass sort of thing on it, which will really look cool as the big optics. So I'm gonna throw out this lid that I was gonna use, and I'm going to use this LED. Now the way I'm gonna go about making this optic is to work from the faceplate first. This facade, this front piece that's going to have all the glowing optics on it, and then I'll work back from there, eventually ending up with this sort of lump that I need to carve away to make it fit snugly against this organic skull shape. This will allow me to keep the integrity of the entire structure I want to create and then glue it straight on later. Now, even though I'm covering up the right eye socket with another LED, I'm not going to let this little LED already in the skull go to waste. I'm going to poke it through the back of the skull and then cut a flap in the side, pulling the LED out, and then I'll rig it up into an extra optic on the side of the main interface. Now that all my electronic bits are assembled, I'm going to glue this onto the main skull, and then I'm going to set about greebling everything, adding lots of little details and everything to make it look like it's made of metal.
All right, Jazz's project, building the Golden Throne, has inspired this whole thing, and we want to check in. Jazza, hey. What can we actually do to like help with this servo skull? Where do you want it? Is there anything specific?
I wanted to sit beside him, ready to serve him for eternity.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need something on the side of the chair. When I do the sculpting, that means make sure it's got a flat base and it just sort of sits there nicely.
Definitely that grimdark vibe. There's going to be candles everywhere. We're going to go extra spooky.
Oh, I'm excited. This is a fun Halloween project. Okay, I can't wait to see our tiny little skull on your giant throne, which of course, if you want to see the whole process and see this finished, not bokeh'd out in the background of this shot, make sure you check out the video on Jazz's channel because it's awesome. So I must confess, I actually had a little bit of a head start on this project. I knew we were doing it Friday of last week, and I set about sculpting so I could have it 3D printing over the weekend. Now, we didn't want to lean too heavily on 3D sculpting. It's not that approachable for people who want to follow along at home, but in creating something solid that could be a great foundation and base for this, so we don't have to worry about it wobbling around, gluing moving parts, this was a fantastic way to get all those greebling and cables done. I made extensive use of the curve modifier, basically turning these curves into a bunch of cables, wrapping them around themselves, modifying them, and making sure I had a nice splayed out area where the weight would be distributed back over the area that is actually contacting the ground, or in this case, the arm of the Golden Throne. With that all set out, I could boolean them all. That basically means use a cube to slice the bottom flat so they'd all have a nice flat bottom, and then I scaled this whole thing up so it would fill out a print bed. And with that done, it printed over the weekend. It's time to reveal what's underneath, and oh, 2 coffees. Thanks, honey.
So I've been given the task of creating the iron halo that's going to go on the servo skull, but I got to grab some materials first. I've got some EVA foam that's going to be super useful. I need some armature wire, which I've got here, and I've also got some foam clay to make the spikes, hopefully. We'll see if it works, but let's get started. So I've hit a little bit of a crossroads and the project's going okay. I managed to get this much done of the halo. So I've used EVA foam to just make the round part of the halo, armature wire, and a little bit of foam just to try and seal it in, and put these spokes in as well that will have the spikes on top of them. And I tried a couple of different methods. I tried using foam clay to make the actual spikes. I even tried some insulation foam as well, and there was various results. Some of it worked okay, some of it was and at the end of the day, Dave turned around to me and said, hey, I can do these on the 3D printer and it'll take about half an hour probably in total, and you'll have spikes exactly how you want them. So yeah, how you feeling, Murray?
And here we go. We have little spikes. They printed in 25 minutes. They were sculpted in 5. Hopefully this will be a good solution. Let's see how they fit.
So something we really wanted to add to the skull was to try and rip out all of its teeth and replace them with something else. Now, this is an example skull. The boys are still working on the actual skull. But yeah, we're gonna drill his teeth out and replace them. And luckily, we know someone who came in absolute clutch with some fake teeth. Thank you so much, Amy. These are going to be very gruesome and terrifying. And yes, I do just carry these around in my back pocket all the time. So we're gonna Dremel out his teeth and give him some beautiful dental work. And I think this will really elevate the look from being a cheap Kmart skull to a servo skull. So let's do a quick check of what we actually have on our servo skull. So we've got the skull itself, we've got some teeth, we've got the giant eye lens, and we've also put in the other one as well. But there is one thing I think that's missing. Well, 2 technically. We've got to do this back piece that are on a lot of these servo skulls. They've got like a big back plate. So Dave has some really cool electronics that he's grabbed from home to try and replicate something that'll look very, very gnarly indeed. And then once that's done, all we need to do is put him on his stand, and then we're moving on to the next part of the project. So let's get started.
It is the end of the day. We haven't finished. I kind of need to make a finish gap fill, but also prepare it for painting. The easiest way to paint a lot of this is priming it with a spray. The foam doesn't like sprays. So I'm gonna mix some PVA with some plaster. Don't know what that'll do, but I think it'll work.
So it is Halloween today. You can't tell because I'm totally dressed up in my Halloween costume. I'm the scariest thing of all, myself. Anyway, I've got to finish this project. Dave has called in sick. Unfortunately, he's caught a wedding cold, I guess. I don't know if that's a thing, but it is now. So it's up to me. It's up to me to finish this project, and there's still quite a lot to go. So this is basically where we're at. He is touch dry, thank goodness, so I can go ahead and spray and paint him up and make him look really cool and gruesome. But first, let's clean up tabletop time. So gluing is all done, and now it's time to spray up my little friend here. Isn't he cute? Isn't he terrifying? Look how cute and terrifying he is. And we're back from spraying, and the Servo skull's looking really good. So I've sprayed a bunch of different colors, some red and this like really gross, sick looking green at the top, a bit of bone white, and just left the bottom black. And I'm really happy with how this has turned out. It looks super gruesome and gross and disgusting, but it needs a little bit of work before it's fully finished. So I got to do some dry brushing, pick out a couple of different elements that are on it, and I also need to take off all of the masking I put on it. So I think I'm going to do that first. Pull off all that tape and reveal all those beautiful electronics, because I think that that's going to be very, very satisfying. So let's do that, and then we can move on to some painting. Yay! This is where we're at currently. Everything is pretty much painted, dry brushed. It's looking gritty, but I think it's missing a little bit of depth. So I'm gonna use a bunch of weathering pigments to try and give it a little bit more color, a little bit more depth, and to make it look a little bit more gritty, I suppose. But that's gonna be the final step, and then I'm gonna attach the halo that goes on top, and then we're pretty much good to go. So let's do that montage and get ready for some reveals. All right, Jazza, all done with the Servo skull. Where are
Right here, let's go. What do we got? I haven't seen it yet.
Are you ready? Don't avert your eyes.
Really?
Yeah,
Is it? Whoa, that is so bright. Oh my God, that looks sick. You actually have to look at it like from slightly side on.
Pretty bright.
That's, oh, it looks sick.
Yeah, we're very happy with it.
This would look awesome.
Yes, it's gonna go
next to the Emperor. Oh, he's here.
Wait.
He will stay here forever. looming over us as we continue to create creative chaos. With a little friend. Does that look like... I think it's there! I think we got it! There it is! Oh, that's pretty cool!
I'm on a ladder and I am absolutely terrified, so I'm gonna make it super quick. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Go check out how Jazza made the Emperor because it's very, very cool and I'm absolutely terrified being up here. Oh.
Might stay up here for a little bit, actually. It's good view.